am very, very happy to have Paula Higa Moyer with me, who is also a high performance coach. And what I learned today, Legacy Life Junkie, which I just love that term. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me on. What an honor and a privilege. I appreciate you allowing me to share space with you and with your friends and fans and family who are all watching and joining in. So thank you again so much.
Oh, Paula, yeah. And we were just saying right before we went live that you and I know each other because we see each other at a lot of Brendan Burchard's events, but we have never really had the chance to sit down and talk. And so this is very exciting for me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, because it jumped out at me when I was on your website, can we start with the Legacy Life Junkie piece just to tell people
Yes.
about that?
Yes, that's very exciting. I love to talk about that. For me, and also just to tie it into what's going on in the world right now, it's so important to understand what we have within ourselves that can help us, not just cope with what's going on, but really to take ourselves to the next level. And what I notice from coaching clients is that a lot of us are very ambitious. We're looking for those tools that are going to help us get to the next level, help us grow, help us create what it is that we want to create as far as our life's work. But what's happening is we're sometimes so ambitious that we're missing those opportunities to go deep within ourselves and access all the resources that we have that we haven't tapped into yet. So Legacy Life Junkie for me means really truly being legendary in the sense of going deep within and pulling out those things that cannot be, nobody else is creating those tools. If you really want to leave a legacy for the people who you love and have that impact, you got to let them understand what's going on in your soul, the depths of that. And to be able to do that, you've got to explore that fully yourself. So for me, Legacy Life Junkie is about the legacy that's within that you can then share outside to those who you love.
Oh, Paula, I am so excited. I love this so much because part of, I think, what you're speaking to that I see in my own life, of course, and everywhere around me is this sort of, I need this, I need this, I need that. That will make me whole. That will make me better. This is how I can improve. And what I
Yes.
hear from you is that there's so much deep within us that is unique and necessary and important, and that I just love. So part of your work, or maybe a lot of your work, you can tell me, is helping people to find those places.
Yes, helping people find, I call it the whole me strategy.
Uh-huh.
So really digging into the whole version of you, all of what you have to offer, even what you don't even know you have within you in terms of strengths and abilities and growth potential. And so really understanding what that is and no longer looking outside of yourself, but going further within yourself and developing those things, getting access, developing deeper relationships. I call it head space, heart space, and hustle space. So that's really kind of like, how you're thinking, how you're leading from the soul, and then the things that you're doing. So headspace, obviously, what you think, heart space from the soul. That's your deepest levels of your truth, and taking action. That's the hustle space, is taking action on what is being influenced here. So heart influences head, head influences hustle, and then we go and we have the whole you version.
Ah, I want to know something. Was there a time that this all happened for you, and that's where this work came out of?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, it's something that's evolved for sure over years. So, I used to be obese and depressed, and my view of life at that time was, people who are in my life that are supposed to make me happy aren't making me happy. I'm not a happy person. I don't like being obese. I don't like being depressed. Why aren't they making me thin and happy? So, and I was like, like years in the state, almost 20 years in the state, and realized like that's not going to happen. I've got to pull that out myself. And so starting to do the work to change what's coming from here to influence what's happening up here, and then going out and doing the action that makes the reality what I actually want it to be. And so it started with addressing the taking responsibility for how I was thinking about life and how it was something external that was going to come in and make my life be great, and then doing the work myself, little by little by little, which led me onto this journey of of getting involved with personal development, and then meeting Brendon Burchard and the whole high performance philosophy of living, and completely transforming everything in my life. So that's in short how that's been a journey for me.
It's very funny, isn't it? I know, like when we tell these stories of things, like I know for me, it's like this 30-year journey. And then it's like, here are the 2 sentences about how. And, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think this is kind of typical too, where someone would look at you right now and just be like, oh my gosh, look at her. She's so beautiful and she's so positive, and I could never be like, right. Like, I think that there can often be that kind of thing. And then it's like, even just hearing a little bit about your story makes me remember, like, there's always the journey. And it's such a testament to, I mean, you're radiant, I know it's like, it's so beautiful you are. And I know that must come from all of that inner work, I'm guessing. Do you think?
Absolutely, for sure, without question, because part of the depression is because you don't have a sense of control, right? So as soon as you start taking action and seeing results, you start realizing your capability to make huge change and create happiness is within. So this empowerment comes. And so you're like, if I could do that, what else could I do? What else could I do? And what else could I do? And so now it becomes, you have this massive sort of vault or library of tools. I like to think of it sort of like, I think about the movie, The Matrix, because it's kind of like, when they upload a skill or ability within you, and then suddenly you become this like Kung Fu master or something like that. It's once you realize that you have that ability within you, you just start uploading those capabilities, and you get out of hiding, right? Stop hiding behind somebody else's tools, somebody else's philosophy, somebody else's concept, and you start being able to live totally, as Brennan says, personal freedom, having that space of total personal freedom, which then, in my opinion, and what I see within my clients and myself, is where legacy really starts to be created in a way that you want to design. Because, right, we're creating legacies no matter what, but is it the one we want? So that's why I say legacy junkie, because it's really about making sure that we're creating the actual legacy that we really, really want.
And, Paula, it's really striking me. Of course, we're having this conversation within a very particular moment in time, right? So we're in the middle of this pandemic, and I personally am so uplifted that you're talking about legacy right now, right? So I know that I'm fascinated by all the different sort of voices out there saying, don't do anything right now. It's just the time to take care of yourself. Let yourself, whatever. No, go do this, go do that. And no, this is the time for self-reflection. And I think it's interesting, this whole spectrum. But personally, I find great comfort to hear someone talking about legacy at a time when people might look around the world and feel as if it's standing still.
Such a good point. This is a huge topic for a lot of people. So not just my regular clients, but also communities that I support, and just bringing in some of these concepts and teaching the strategies, that there absolutely is sort of a wait and see sort of mindset when people don't know that they have that empowered ability within themselves, right? They are hiding behind some other person to take a leadership position and guide them towards what they're supposed to do, instead of taking the initiative to create that themselves. And especially for those of us who have families, but in any arena, even our circles of friends, people are watching what we're doing, how we're handling it, because we're all, this is an even playing field. Everybody's in the same situation. So they're looking, how are they handling? How's he doing it? How is she doing it? What are they doing? And trying to get some inspiration and guidance from that. But especially if you have children, which is a huge focus for me. I work with people who have kids, and that is what we are doing, how we are choosing to upload those abilities and capabilities within ourselves, coming from the heart and truth of who we are and who we want to be. We're making those decisions of how we're handling this time right now, and our kids are watching us. And whatever we choose to do, those are the tools that we're putting in our kids' toolboxes. When they grow up and they have a challenge, they're going to access the memory of how we showed up at this time. And so that is a huge impact, and thinking about more deeply, how do we want to make choices right now because of what the outcome that we want in the future, not just for ourselves, but for our children.
That is so powerful. And I want to say hi to Charlotte, who just said hi.
Char. Love her.
Everybody
Hi,
loves
Char.
Charlotte. Oh, goodness. That was so powerful because, you know, obviously what you're doing is you're taking us out of that, exactly what you said, like looking around to see how should I respond? What are other people doing? And putting us in that place of you're a role model. Like, even if you're not thinking of yourself that way, other people, and especially our children, is so beautiful. That has been in the forefront of my mind this whole time. I have a 20-year-old, almost 20. And right. And I know that this is going to be something he looks back on. And I want to give him the tools, like you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the things that we condition into the lives of others that we are relationshiping with, whatever that relationship is. And certainly our relationships are part of our legacy. So it's really thinking not just about how deep can we go within ourselves, but also that impact we have outside of ourselves. Because it's human nature, right, to look at examples outside of us, who's inspiring, who's showing up in ways that that we admire and appreciate, and that we would want to model ourselves after. And the more we pull the best of ourselves out, the better this experience is going to be for all. But this is not a sit and wait type situation at all. And I share this with, and I know you know this, and the high performance community knows this. But these times, any challenge of any kind is always an accelerator for those who are trying to create that legacy, those who are conscious of wanting to create that legacy. These are moments of accelerating because it's going to force you to deal with things that trigger you to back down, right? So when you're taking steps forward, those triggers bubble up, and that's the cue. Like, okay, I'm taking this thing on right now so that I can keep going, keep my momentum, and go to the next level.
Oh, this is so good, Paula. I'm really loving this. And what I want to know is, obviously you must have a really clear idea, at least at this moment, of what legacy means to you. Yes?
Yes, very, very.
Can you share that with us? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, for me, it's always going to be about, and there are lots of different versions of legacy. So for some people, when you hear this word legacy, you're thinking billionaires and famous people.
Oh, we lost Paula. I'm sure she'll be right back. I'm going to hang out and reflect a little bit about what she was just saying, which I'm so interested in this idea of legacy. And I think what she was starting to say, oh, here she's coming. That's okay. You're back.
Okay.
So you please continue. That was great.
Yeah, so just people think it's associated with, estates that are being left behind or money, and certainly that can be part of it for sure. That's not the part that I'm addressing. I'm addressing the part that when you are no longer on this planet, the impact you have on the direct people who will be affected by you leaving this planet, and generationally after that, what do you want to who do you want to be remembered for? Not what do you want to be remembered for, but who do you want to be remembered for? So the deeper you go in showing up as the person who's expanded to the max in your lifetime that you could, who you can be, that is what's going to be implanted in the people who you care about and love, and will raise their level of being too. So it's about whole me, the whole version of yourself, that legacy.
And so for you, what is that?
For me, that was your actual question. For me, that is a lifelong exploration of being very conscious of not being reactive, not being operating from a conditioned place, not being being very conscious to not operate from any trauma behavior of things in the past that have impacted me. So knowing what I want to create in terms of a legacy. So I have two kids. I have a 25-year-old and an 18-year-old. And so for me, it's them, like tooling them up with most of what I have. Like all of us, especially parents, we want to give our kids the best. Everybody knows this. Like every great parent wants to give their kids the best of what they have to offer. And that's financial and all those things too. But for me, if I can make an impact within my kids' identity, of them being feeling with them being able to feel as though the whole of who they are is going to create the best experience of their lives. That's the legacy that I want to leave.
Wow. Oh, Paula, this is so beautiful. I have another sort of related question, I think, but I mentioned this to you earlier, that I've been really interested in, and it goes along with what we're talking about responding to this time instead of reacting. And I've been talking to a lot of people about the gifts that they've actually received from this. And I'd love to hear if you have some thoughts about that for yourself.
There's a lot of gifts that have come from this. And I would say, without question, like I said, any challenge is absolutely an accelerator. So the biggest gift I've seen is that it has increased the pace of what's important to me, what I've already been working on. Because I'm conscious to understand, what it is that I'm going for. But even what I'm not conscious of, because again, those things will bubble up. It's very quick on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. I'll bump into something that I wouldn't normally bump into because, for example, everybody's home. So, right. When my kids at school and my other kids at work all day long, I'm not interacting with them as much. So there's less opportunity to bump into potential challenges, conflicts, disagreements. There have been great conversations where they have been able to share with me deep feelings of hurts and pains from decisions I've made when they were much younger, when their dad and I, for example, were, separating our lives. And I've been able to address that because those are things that I didn't know. And I'm like, man, I don't want to leave this planet having that been impacted into their identity without it being addressed. And so opportunities like that, to me, that's a gift, being a Legacy Life Junkie, to be able to have those. That's one of those things I feel like bubbles up, because my instinct is, well, that I wasn't trying to do that. I was doing the best that I could.
Right.
You can't blame me, but that's my instinctive reaction. But that's not accessing the whole me. That's not accessing the best of who I am or the heart of what I want to leave a legacy for. So I have to be patient and say, okay, I hear you. Let me just really take that in for a moment, and let's talk through that and really get good at acknowledging and opening that relationship up even more where it was closed, for example. And that's been really great growth for me as an individual in terms of my whole self, but it's also been really, really a gift in terms of deepening my relationship with my kids through in a particular area of our relationship where there's been some hurt and damage.
Wow, that is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips on if someone's listening and they think wow, that would be amazing to be able to do? Say, for instance, with my children or somebody else even. What do you think enabled you to not go to that place? I think that might be a go-to for us of, I wasn't doing that, or I didn't mean to, but instead to be open like you were.
Awesome question. One of the things that have been huge for me is, again, absolutely accessing the whole of who I am. So what I notice is when I go into conversations with them or with anyone, knowing that something can be triggered, right? Then I prepare myself to be more highly aware of what my body's sending signals on. So I call it my signal system, that the awareness is what is my body feeling when something is said, by them, for example, when they say, well, when you did this, blah, 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 my gut just starts to go, and I'm like, whoa, and then my body wants to go, stop, do whatever you have to, say whatever you have to, stop that icky feeling. But the whole me, the more empowered version of me, will say, let me check in. What's going on there? Not shut it down, acknowledge it, feel it, observe it, understand it. Don't let ego get in the way. And then once the awareness comes in of this, what I call an alert, saying, hey, the wisdom of my body is trying to grow me right now. Then I start to, get away from trying to shut it down and step into letting it expand and be fully explored. And then once it's fully explored, then I can understand what changes, what adaptations, what way do I need to level up so that that relationship can improve. And so I kind of have like my little alert, like get the awareness of the alert that comes, and then give it your attention, and then figure out how you need to adapt. So awareness, attention, and adaptation. And then that to me gets you on the other side.
Wow. That in itself, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, but I feel like that was so succinct too, as a process that people could do. And I totally get that about the body, right? But I think we often, like you said, we try to suppress it or get rid of it. And that is so wonderful. Wow. I love this.
What's awesome too about that, Sherry, is what I love about it from a whole me perspective is that I didn't pull in anything from outside of me for that. And because of that, nothing gets the credit for it, except my soul gets this new learning about.
Oh, we lost her again. Let me see if I can get her back. Paula, she'll be back. Erin, hello, thank you. I just saw your note. It's so good you're here. I'm hoping that, oh, here she is. This is a good, Paula?
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know, but you know what I was just thinking is this is really a good practice. First of all, in just being in the moment, because here we are, this is what's going on. We don't really have any control over it, just like everything. And it also just, for me, it speaks to kind of what you've been talking about, which is we just come back, right? We just come back and show up. And here we are.
Yes, I love that tie-in. That's beautiful.
I do. And I noticed I had lipstick. I still do. Look, I need to get off. I noticed while you were gone that I had lipstick on my tooth. And then I was like, that's awesome too. Right? I think it's one of the things that I love the best about doing things live, because you can't. I used to have this thing I would call cardboard Sherry, which was this sort of like, here she is. She doesn't have lipstick on her teeth. She's so perfect, right? That kind of perfect. And I love the fact that I don't know why you keep disappearing, but you come back. And I got some lipstick on my teeth, and that's all right, because here we are. Here we are. And in a very short amount of time, I feel as if you have gifted us with so much, so many tools.
Thank you, Sherry. That's very sweet.
Well, it's true. And it's one of the things that for me, I am so privileged, right? I'm so privileged to know a community of people like you who are really dedicated, even more than that, really devoted to showing up.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I'm very privileged too.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm just curious, because I know we only have a couple more minutes and you have so many different, so many things to share. Is there an area we haven't yet touched on that feels like you want to bring into the conversation?
I would just add to what you and I have already been sharing about, and what you share about every single time you do one of these, in terms of empowering others to really step in. That struggle for us is there's this human hardwiring that's conditioned to want to resist that, to move away from that versus working through that. And one of my mottos, besides no more hiding for this year, which obviously that came up in December, so I had no idea what was going to be happening and all this quarantine stuff. But how do you not hide when you're told to stay in your house? Really understanding how legacy comes out in that respect. But also another motto I had was struggle slayer. Again, not knowing what 2020 was going to bring. So struggle slayer being that it's the conscious choice to step into struggle because you get that growth, because you know that every time a struggle comes, it gives you new muscle training to climb up the hill, imagining where you want to get is at the top of the hill, right? So sometimes we think, man, if I just can run faster, then I'm going to be moving closer to my goal. But if you're running faster just on flat ground and the goal is at the top of the hill, you're going to feel, it's a false sense of progress versus maybe sometimes you got to go a little, it feels slower pace,
Yeah.
but more growth because you're climbing, like, right? When you're climbing versus going flat, it feels slower, but really truly struggle is an accelerator. So because of the new learning that is developed in the struggle, it's actually a faster pace. So step into struggle
I love
as an
that.
accelerator.
Ah, and I really appreciate, you're a marvelous teacher. I know you probably know this, but I didn't know how you are really when you teach, and the metaphors, and it's beautiful. And you really have frameworks that make everything very easy to take away. Because
Awesome.
sometimes,
Thank
right, we
you.
hear really inspiring things and then we leave and it's kind of like, oh, I know that was great, but what, but I feel like you've left us with some things that we can actually take away and implement. So grateful.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I see Gail's on. Hi,
Oh,
Gail.
hi, Gail. Oh, it's good to see you.
Sherry, I am honored that you allow me to share the space with you and with your audience, and to be on the list of other really amazing, great high performance coaches that you've also interviewed, to be part of that community and all that we get to learn for ourselves, but also turn around and be able to impart to others, especially in this particular time, anytime, but especially in this particular time where people are looking for ways that they can move forward within their own abilities, right? But also to see the leaders stepping up, and to be seeing people being bold and still wanting to grow and push forward and not staying stuck. And they need that inspiration. So the work that you're doing with these calls is just absolutely amazing. So I thank you so much for doing that and giving that to the world.
Thank you. And before you go, I wanted to see if you saw what Christina, and hello, Christina. I haven't seen you in so long. It's so good to see you. Struggle warriors. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Christina, that's awesome. I love that.
I feel
Yes.
like I want to pinky promise with all of you, like, let's do that. Paula,
Yeah.
this has been such a pleasure. I'm so grateful. I hope we have a chance to talk again like this. This was so great.
Me too. Thank you, Sherry. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Thank
Mwah.
you. Yay.